Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this. I want you to imagine this scenario for a second. You've just landed this massive promotion. You finally have the corner office, you've got the impressive title on your door, and a whole team of people reporting directly to you. You call your first big meeting, you stand up, lay out your grand vision, give your instructions, and absolutely nothing happens. Cue the crickets. It suddenly hits you that, well, you might have the position of a leader, but you don't actually have any true followers.
It's a pretty painful dilemma, isn't it? Having the title, but no one's actually following. We call this the empty title trap. When you're stuck here, people really just do the bare minimum. They comply with your instructions, they watch the clock, and the second it strikes 5, they head home. They aren't engaged because, frankly, you haven't become a true leader yet. You're just their boss. And trust me, there is a massive difference between the two.
And that brings us to the absolute core of John C. Maxwell's groundbreaking framework. He says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. What I really love about this definition is how it completely strips away all that corporate jargon. True leadership isn't about wielding positional power or throwing your weight around the office. It is entirely about influence. But here's the catch. Influence isn't something you can just be appointed to. It has to be earned, step by step, level by level.
But before we start climbing those levels, we have to understand a really foundational rule: the law of the lid. This law states that your current leadership ability puts a hard, unyielding cap, literally a lid, on your organization's potential. Think of it this way. If your leadership skills are sitting at a level 5 out of 10, your team's effectiveness is never, ever going to surpass a 5. You can work longer hours, or actually, scratch that, you can push your team to the absolute brink, but until you actively lift your own leadership lid, that ceiling is staying firmly in place.
So how exactly do we lift that lid? Well, we climb. Here's our roadmap. We're looking at the leadership illusion, then we'll climb from level 1, position, through permission and production, all the way up to the multiplication phases of levels 4 and 5. And finally, we'll map out a 90-day plan to actually climb your own ladder. Let's step on to rung number 1, level 1, position, also known as the appointed manager. At this stage, people follow you strictly because your job title means they have to. And you essentially have 2 paths you can take here. You can be the secure manager. This person knows they're at the bottom rung, right? So they use their new authority wisely, they focus heavily on leading themselves first, and they actively plan for growth. But then there's the psychological shadow of this level, known as the imposter trap. These managers feel incredibly insecure. They rely entirely on command and control rules, they absolutely love bureaucracy, and they often feel deeply threatened by anyone talented on their team. Your goal? Be the secure manager and get out of level 1 as fast as humanly possible. And that takes us up to level 2, permission, or the relational leader. This is where true leadership actually begins, because people are following you now because they want to. You've taken the time to connect with them as actual human beings. You know what motivates them, you know their struggles, and you've built a solid foundation of trust. They've essentially given you permission to lead them. Now, why does this relational stuff matter so much? Just consider this number, 70%. According to Gallup, a massive 70% of the variation in workplace engagement rides entirely on an employee's relationship with their direct supervisor. So it's not about the free snacks in the break room or the ping pong table, it's about the relationship they have with you. You simply cannot lead people effectively until you genuinely like and care for them. But, level 2 has its own psychological pitfalls. The ideal behavior here is being the supportive coach. Someone who listens empathetically, serves the team, and builds deep trust. But the danger is falling into the people-pleasing paradox. Because you value harmony so much and you want to be liked, you might start dodging the hard calls. You might fear conflict so intensely that you completely struggle to be honest and candid with your team. To survive here, you've got to balance that genuine care with absolute candor. Once you have that trust locked in, it's time to actually get things done. Welcome to level 3, production, the credible achiever. At this stage, you gain real, undeniable credibility because of your track record. People aren't just following you for the title or even just because they like you. They respect you because of the tangible, real-world results you've produced. To crush it at level 3, you have to model the exact work ethic you expect to see. You can't just dictate from on high, you have to lead by example. You also need to define a crystal clear vision, position your people exactly where their natural strengths shine, and crucially, balance your own personal production with actually leading the team. When you nail this, you create incredible momentum. Winning literally becomes contagious.
Psychologically, this type of leader operates on a core belief that says, I win when my team delivers results. Sounds awesome, right? But beware the shadow side here. The huge danger is falling into the workaholic trap, where you burn yourself and your entire team out just endlessly chasing metrics. And even worse is the bottleneck danger. If you're the only one who can make decisions because you're so laser-focused on producing, your team's growth becomes entirely limited by your own personal capacity. So, to break through that bottleneck, we have to ascend to the absolute highest tiers, levels 4 and 5, multiplication, the domains of the multiplier and the legacy builder.
Up in these top levels, your focus dramatically shifts. It's no longer about your own output. It's entirely about empowering other leaders. Why is this such a game changer? Well, think of levels 1 through 3 as operating on basic addition. If you lead 10 followers, your reach is exactly 10. It's totally linear. But levels 4 and 5, they operate on multiplication. If you develop 10 leaders and they each go on to lead 10 people, boom, your reach expands exponentially to 100. Developing leaders instead of just gathering followers is the absolute secret sauce to explosive, geometric growth in any organization. Of course, the air gets pretty thin at the top, and the psychological barriers become intensely personal. A level 4 multiplier often battles the fear of being outshined. It takes deep security to train someone who might eventually surpass you. They also battle impatience, because developing people takes a lot of time. And at level 5, the legacy builder has to fight the ego trap, starting to believe your own hype, and the complacency plateau, where it's super tempting to just rest on your laurels instead of continuing to reproduce new leaders. To really wrap your head around level 5, think about the legendary UCLA basketball coach, John Wooden. Yes, winning 10 NCAA championships in 12 years is incredible. That's peak level 3 production right there. But his true pinnacle legacy is that he didn't just train basketball players. He built leaders. His players went on to become immensely successful coaches, business executives, and pillars in their communities. A level 5 leader's real impact creates a culture of leadership that completely outlasts their own tenure.
So, the big question, how do we actually get there? We have to climb deliberately. Let's walk through a highly practical 90-day leadership ascension plan to help you push past your personal leadership lid. Here is exactly how you should spend those 90 days. In month 1, you stabilize your foundation. You take a hard, honest look at your current leadership lid, and you fundamentally shift your mindset from commanding your people to serving them. In month 2, you lean heavily into level 2 by building genuine connections. Book those one-on-ones, practice real active listening, and make sure you're balancing care with candor. Finally, in month 3, you act on level 3 to drive that momentum. Define crystal clear goals, model the exact behavior you want, and for sure, celebrate those wins together. If you commit to that process, you are well on your way to realizing this ultimate truth. The highest leadership accomplishment is developing other leaders to level 4. Your influence outlasts you. That's a legacy. You see, leadership isn't just some destination you arrive at and then clock out. It's a lifelong, deeply rewarding journey of lifting yourself up so that you can spend the rest of your career multiplying and lifting up everyone around you. Which leaves us with one final, absolutely crucial question for you to chew on today. Which rung of the ladder are you currently standing on? Are you just relying on a fancy title, or are you actively developing the people around you? I challenge you to honestly assess your leadership lid today, look up at the very next rung, and take that first step upward. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next climb.